It's a game day game preview here on Ref the District. Washington Commanders host the Cincinnati Bengals at 6:05. Let's go. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's game preview on game day today. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. We're Ref the District on the Believe Network. Be sure to check us out wherever you find your audio podcast, as we are out there. We're also here on YouTube right now for your game day preview of the Cincinnati Bengals going to Washington. It is the final preseason game, Stoner, and it is gonna be largely not something you're gonna necessarily. There's not going to be a lot of players in this that you're going to see in the regular season. You know, this is the game here that you tend to see the end of the roster guys fighting it out. But there was a surprise from Ron Rivera on Friday. He named Jacoby Brissett is going to be playing a quarter and a half.
Yeah, that's surprising.
I thought this was going to be the Jake Fromm show.
Yeah.
Why is Jacoby Brissett going to be playing in this third and final preseason game here?
I think there's probably a couple of things. First and foremost, that Baltimore game probably left a little bit of a bitter taste in his own mouth that he didn't like how he performed. He obviously did not have a good game. I mean, there's people out there saying, is Jake Fromm QB2 now? I mean, that's just crazy talk. He's not. But also, I think the coaches saw that, and they want him to be better prepared for the regular season just in case. They're paying this guy $8 million to be a backup to come in and capably fill in, if needed, for Sam Howell. So he needs to be fully prepared. There's only 3 preseason games now. There used to be 4. So the starters, most of the starters, they're basically done for the preseason. And now it's just guys like Jacoby who are going to go out there and play. So I think both sides. Coaches wanted him to get a little bit more work, and I think Jacoby wanted himself to go out and get a little bit more work. But you know what? It's preseason, game 3. Like you said, there's going to be a bunch of guys we don't really care so much about because they won't be on this roster. And I mean that from a football standpoint. I don't mean that from a life standpoint. But it's still game day, Nathan. It's still game day. It still gets gets you fired up. I'm excited to see what FedEx is going to look like on a Saturday night with on a game 3 of the preseason. I'm excited to watch the game for sure.
Yeah, I think that there's still a lot of exciting battles going on, and there's still going to be some other starters playing, actually, Stoner, as the interior offensive line starting unit is going to see some time there with Jacoby. So you're going to see Saadhiq Charles, Nick Gates, and Sam Cosmi all out there. Nick Gates talking about it as they need these reps.
Yeah.
How important are these reps for these 3 going into this game?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, reps are everything. You can never get enough reps. I mean, you have to weigh the risk versus reward of getting injured in a game like that. But these guys need it. Nick Gates is new here, but I think I said this yesterday on the Daily Commanders update, is that Nick Gates would play on Mars for no money. He's that type of a football player. But he needs it. Saadhiq Charles missed a bunch of practices early on in the season, and Sam Cosmi is a full-time guard for the first time in his life, basically. He his professional life for sure. And these 3 on the interior, they need to work on chemistry. And so I got no problem with those guys out there, and you just hope, again, you got to weigh that risk versus reward with the injury, the risk injury, or the injury of risk, the risk of injury. You just got to weigh that. And these guys say, look, we can go out there and work on some things, and hopefully we just don't get hurt.
Something I do have a problem with a little bit, not really, is this is the second game in a row that we will not see the large majority, if any, of the defensive starters. Jack Del Rio's defenses tend to start off the season slow.
Yeah, they do.
And not getting any kind of game reps in. Does that concern you?
I mean, maybe it does, but I think it's that balance, that risk versus reward balance of injury, because look, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Sweat, I mean, Chase is maybe a little bit different, but some of those guys in the back, they don't need as much of the work that these other guys do. So I don't have as much of a problem, but we're probably going to talk about it if they do start slowly at the beginning of the year. Look, in that Cleveland game, The first team defense wasn't great. And then they didn't get any work in preseason game 2.
I get that's probably a little harsh, as they weren't great in the sense that they allowed Cleveland to march all the way down the field. They did have the goal line stand.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
They held they held them scoreless. The first team defense did hold Cleveland scoreless. Yeah. So there's some positive. But yes, it was definitely bend and not breaking there, and so that's good. But it is something that I want them to fix for the regular season. So hopefully it's not something we have to talk about in there. Instead, we are going to see the second, third, fourth, fifth stringers, helping the Bengals decide between Jake Browning and Trevor Siemian. Is there anything on the opposite side of the ball that you're even remotely interested in, Stoner?
Nope. Next question. No, seriously, I don't care anything about Cincinnati. I don't care about their backup quarterback situation. I don't care about their third offensive guard, all that stuff. I care about my team, and I care about what happens in certain position battles. For example, with Saadhiq Charles going out there and playing, what's Chris Paul going to do with the second teamers? Or what are guys who had kind of iffy games in the second preseason game, guys like Curtis Hodges, Mitchell Tinsley.
Yeah, Mitchell Tinsley needs to show up.
They're fighting for their professional lives here. Some of these guys who may be just a little bit older are, guys I'm thinking of, a Wild Goose, somebody like that. They're not young guys. They're not young draft picks, but they're fighting for their professional lives. And I want to see how they perform. And I want to see how they battle, how they bounce back from maybe struggling a little bit against Baltimore in that second game.
Yeah, these end of preseason games, because there's only 3 now. There used to be 4. This is really where maybe not necessarily roster battles are won or lost, because it is only one game and they've had all this practice. But this could be a tipping scale when you see somebody out there on game day and have earn the Ref the District Diamond Award, right? Because they just blew up. That might tilt the scale on positioning just a little bit. So these are kind of important for that. You had Jeremy Reeves, for example, who, famously now had gone on and off the roster. These are the games that kind of helped him stick around for Washington. Who is going to help themselves in this game, Stoner?
Well, I tell you what, it's very interesting what they're going to do at the end of the wide receiver position. I'm super intrigued by some of these guys here. I think we all know who the top 5 are if you go all the way to Pringle at 5. And then if they keep 6 or 7, who's that 6th guy? Because there are some capable players there. We already talked about Tinsley, and you've got McGowan. You've got Marcus Kemp, who is a Bieniemy guy who came over from Kansas City. You've got the undrafted free agent Casimir Allen as well. And you've got Dax Milne. And from everything we've heard about Dax Milne in camp, he has been fantastic. He's caught everything. He runs excellent routes. He's just not an explosive guy after the catch. But Casimir Allen is that guy who is explosive, but is not necessarily a good route runner.
Not as polished, sure.
He's not as polished, and he doesn't catch everything like Milne does. But last week in that game against Baltimore, and he was out there, Casimir Allen I'm talking about, was out there and made plays in the wide receiver position. That's the kind of thing that catches the coach's eyes when they see that. When they say, well, he hasn't been doing so great running routes in practice, then he gets out there with the lights on and he makes plays. And that weighs, that's a lot of weight added to his case to the coaching staff. So I look for guys like that, Casimir Allen and Dax Milne, or whatever the end of the wide receiver position is.
Yeah, Dax Milne's actually banged up right now. So this is really a big opportunity for Casimir Allen. It's interesting that you mentioned Pringle is kind of a lock for the roster, because we haven't really seen too much from him. But he's kind of long considered somebody who's just going to fill out that 5th wide receiver spot behind Dami Brown. Tinsley is a guy who I think is going to bounce back big. I think that Jake Fromm really likes targeting Tinsley, so I do expect him to catch the passes that are thrown his way and have a big game. I'm even going to bold prediction. I'm going to put him at over 100 yards of receiving this game.
Wow, that is bold, because if we were doing dollar, I'd be taking that bet. So he's not going over 100. But
by and large, another battle at the end of the roster here is your running backs. It's most people consider Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Chris Rodriguez kind of the locks as the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But you have guys like Jonathan Williams, Derek Gore, Jarrett Patterson,
Yeah.
all trying to vie to maybe unseat the rookie
Yeah.
who Eric Bieniemy really likes, and we've seen some good solid burst from.
Yeah.
So what's that roster battle looking like going into this game here with Cincinnati?
Well, I think that's why we were really surprised that they drafted a running back, even though it was in the 6th round, because they did have capable guys on their roster. They did have Jonathan Williams and Jarrett Patterson already on their roster, capable dudes. And then you bring in a Derek Gore off the street, and he's been super impressive, relatively speaking, in camp so far. So that's a huge, huge battle. And if Chris Rodriguez is your draft pick, you're probably keeping that draft pick, because you don't want to just go out and already say, well, our draft pick didn't work out. This staff, if you look at all their draft picks, just about every single one of them is still on this roster, whether they even deserve to be or not. Some guys are maybe a little iffy on that, but this staff likes to keep their draft picks. So they're keeping Chris Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure. Are they going to keep a 4th guy on the 53-man roster?
Probably not on the 53, but you're definitely going to see a couple of those names on the practice squad. Interesting enough, JP Finley had an interview with Jarrett Patterson, who is a Ref the District favorite. EP is loves herself some Jarrett frickin' Patterson. To me, I don't know if you heard that interview, Stoner, but he talked about how it's a lot of heart. And that's one of the reasons why he's a fan favorite. But he talks about, hey, if I don't make it here, I know I belong in the league. Writing on the wall for Jarrett Patterson.
Oh, is that what, saying that?
It seems like, to me anyways, it seemed to me like he kind of feels like he's on the outside, but he's like, it doesn't matter if they don't keep me here. I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to show that I belong in this league.
Yeah, I think so, because these guys know, they know who gets the 1 reps and who gets the 2s reps every single day in practice. They know what's going on. And as you said, the writing is probably on the wall for Patterson. Does he want to come back to the practice squad again? This will be the 3rd straight year he'd be a practice squad guy.
He actually got named to the 53-man roster in 2021, but he got demoted down the practice squad and everything. Yeah, so he's been up and down,
right on the edge.
I hope he just has a big game and maybe even earns the district diamond instead of Tinsley, but we'll see how all that rolls out. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
One of those positions that's kind of unsettled is who's playing behind Chase Young and Montez.
Sure.
Right? Are we going to see a lot of Andre Jones, 7th round rookie this year? KJ Henry has been kind of incognito.
Yes, that's a good word.
Preseason. Does he finally shine here against Cincinnati?
Yeah, we had a lot of hope for KJ Henry. I thought he was a fantastic pick. He's a leader. He's a good kid. And he's, like you said, he's just basically been invisible in camp so far. But again, he's a draft pick and he's a 5th rounder, and they're not just going to give up on 5th rounders. So I think he makes it, but he does need to kind of flash a little bit to give the coaching staff maybe a little, breathe a little bit easier, saying, okay, he's good, he's learning, he's coming along, because Andre Jones, a 7th rounder, has basically passed him on that depth chart. But there are other guys. There are the James Smith Williams, the Two Hills, the Obadas, the guys like that are, again, they're fighting
William
for their
Bradley
professional
King.
lives. Yeah, he's another guy. So that's a fantastic battle, because also these guys also know that Chase and Montez don't have contracts next year yet. And so they see an opportunity. If I can show out, then maybe they'll let Montez go and I'll be that guy because they have enough confidence in me. These are the kinds of games right here where you can determine the rest of your professional life in this league, our game 3s of the preseason, and guys like that we just mentioned that really need to show out to help themselves.
Well, the Washington Commanders host the Cincinnati Bengals at 6:05 here on Saturday evening. Let us know who you think is going to shine here in the comment section on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio version of this, make sure that you hit us up on X on Twitter at Ref the District there. But until next time,
let's go win a ball game no matter what.
Be a fan.